Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Wisdom Artificial Intelligence. So, today is August 22nd. It is Saturday, and I am bringing you this from the Cambridge side Galleria Mall right next to our home. And you can see the fountain in the background. It is a cloudy day here in Boston. It's overall a great day. We are going to be stepping out for a walk, have a friend over, and just going to soak in the sights around Boston later in the day. Now, let's go ahead get started for today. Today's dose of Rashmi is integrated intelligence is making the choice to perform every action with full willingness or not perform it at all. So, yesterday we talked about that work in an integrated intelligence organization is going to transition from time management to energy management. And now today's dose is actually a continuation of that. So when we talk about energy management, when you perform any action with willingness, you are usually energized. At least that activity is not going to drain you if you are approaching that activity with full willingness. And the same activity, if you're performing where your mind is not really willing to perform, it can feel extremely tedious and energy draining. And things like doing a workout or going for a run are great examples that we all experience. If your mind is not willing while you're performing that activity, a 1 mile run will feel as if you ran an ultra marathon. However, if you're willing, a marathon feels enjoyable. So that is going to be an integral part of an integrated intelligence organization. We talked about rituals such as Connect 10. There'll be other rituals which will help everybody approach the work that they're doing from pure willingness. And that has been the realization for me personally that willingness and creating that willingness in your mind, in your mental model is actually an absolutely trainable mindset. That is something that you can actually help every human acquire with the right type of environment. And there are many activities that before the last 4 5 years that when I used to perform them, because I would perform them a little grudgingly, I felt drained as far as my energy was concerned. Now I feel energized by many of those activities. And it is just based on how I approach these situations. And that is what we are going to model in an integrated intelligence organization. Now, coming specifically to the context of the AI, and this has been the realization for me as I have worked more and more with AI. So, what willingness brings to the table is you approach situations with a yes and to life. And when you're working with AI tools, these AI models being stochastic models, non deterministic, they of course come back with all kinds of things that they return back. And if you're leading purely from your logical intellect, the default reaction is yes, but because logically we are clear about certain things there and nothing wrong with that. However, when you approach it with the integrated intelligence, let's say the AI model is hallucinating. So, from a logical intellect perspective, that is a big failure in the AI model. However, when you're approaching it from an integrated intelligence perspective and a yes and attitude, the hallucination is in a way okay, as long as you are leading it from the clarity that only you can have. It is okay if the model is hallucinating. That may be what triggers a whole new possibility that you had not imagined before. So the AI tool at that point becomes like you're brainstorming with somebody who's creative, who's not necessarily limiting themselves to whatever the past idea of, okay, this is the only way to do this thing. And that is how most innovation typically starts. Somebody brings about a new perspective. And I think that is where, when people complain about AI hallucinating, to me, it is, yeah, sure, it has brought about some new possibility. I can choose to reject it, or I can choose to approach it with the yes. And if there is something in that particular line of thinking that may lead to even a greater possibility, that choice lies with me. And the moment I'm willing to actually take the output of the AI tool and just invariably reject it if I didn't fit my logical mind frame, and now change it to a yes and where I'm like, yeah, okay, it hallucinated. It is doing something which isn't logically very clear. However, is there something else that actually helps me build further on the line of thought that I had? And that is honestly how I have ended up creating the idea of integrated intelligence organization, wisdom led operating model, the whole new category of presence based AI, Rashmi mirror, enterprise mirror. All of these are possibilities that AI, with its stochastic nature, has helped me just extend an idea and actually see that yes, there is something credible here, and now it has all come together into a very coherent architecture. So I'm not saying that we should not work on improving the AI models. Absolutely, we should try to eliminate hallucinations as much as possible. However, the answer is not to make these models completely deterministic. We had that type of software algorithm for many decades before the current generative AI era in terms of rule based artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms. The real power of these models is that they hallucinate, in my opinion. However, when hallucination is useful versus when it is something that needs to be rejected, that is a choice that we humans can make. And for that, it is important that we get in touch with the clarity that is within. The secret ingredient is you. Thank you.